Good evening and welcome to the July 14th, 2014 meeting of the Florissant City Council. Item number 1 on the agenda, the Pledge of Allegiance. I would invite you to stand with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you are interested in speaking at the hearing from citizens portion of the meeting, I would ask that you fill out a yellow speaker card located just inside the chamber's door. And if you'll hand that to the city attorney, Mr. Hessel, he will forward it to us. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hernandez. Here. Lee. Here. Jones. Present. Egan.
Here.
Caputa. Here. Shildroth. Here. Henke. Here. Pagano. Here. Schmidt. Here.
Very good. Next item on the agenda, approval of minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to the meeting, executive meetings and meeting from June 23rd, 2014? Seeing none, Mr. Jones moves to approve the minutes, seconded by Mr. Lee. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Item number 4. Mayor, if you'll make the presentation, please.
Be happy to.
Sure, come on. He's not going to come. It's his inheritance that's doing this.
Well, I want to thank the Kidd family. What we're up here to talk about is a handicap van that their family owned for their loved one. And the Kidd family couldn't bear the thought of just trading it in for the money that the wholesale price of the vehicle, and they really wanted it to continue to serve handicapped individuals in the Florissant Valley and in Florissant City. And so Ms. Kidd asked us if we would accept a donation of the automobile. It's a van. And which brand is it?
It's Dodge Caravan.
Yeah. It's a Dodge Caravan that's outfitted to accommodate up to 2 wheelchairs and very easy access in and out. And just we're so grateful to have this vehicle. The city was able to make a purchase of this vehicle with the Kidd family donation of less than $10,000. So this is a van that probably would, I guess, retail, if you bought it new, would be, close to $60,000. So we're very happy to have it. We'll put it to good use. We'll use it, it'll save fuel because the city will be able to use this quite often, where otherwise we would have had to use the handicap accessible van, which is a much larger capacity. And a lot of times we're only taking a handicapped person to and from the doctors or something like that. And this could also take some non-handicapped individuals as well. So it gives us a flexibility that we did not have before. It also gives us the ability, if we have a person that's wheelchair bound, if they would like to go on one of our trips, then we could probably accommodate them to many of the destinations if they're so desire to go. So this just says on behalf of all the good people of the city of Florissant and myself, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to your generous gift. We are very fortunate to have such thoughtful and caring residents, and your generosity will not go unnoticed. The city is very pleased to have the opportunity to purchase an ADA van, as it will be a great addition to the transportation program, especially for our seniors and handicapped individuals. So Florence, would you like to say anything?
No.
Okay. Well, please accept this small token of our appreciation, and we're in the process of getting the vehicle marked with our city logos and everything, and I think there's going to be a commemoration to your family on there also.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Next item on the agenda, we have a special guest, Mr. Keith English, who is a state representative with the Missouri State Legislation, for a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. President. As was just stated, my name is Keith English, State Representative for the 68th District. Also with me tonight, I have Representative Sharon Pace, who also represents part of Florissant. And good evening. It's welcome. Good to be home again. Mr. President, Council, I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to come before you again as I did last year and give my end-of-the-year report. Before I get started, I wanted to personally thank Councilman Caputa and Gene Nolcamper of Ward 4 for helping with the flower pots that we have in our district and keeping them watered during these hot days, and of course being planted in the spring. This past week, Hazelwood School District received a 2014 Bus and Fleet Excellence Award by the Missouri State Highway Patrol and the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, receiving a score of 97%. Congratulations to all those involved who made that possible. Last session started on December 2nd, much earlier than the second week in January, with a Boeing bill, Senate Bill 1, when the governor called a special session as an economic tool to bring jobs to North County and the state of Missouri, totaling $1.5 billion of economic growth. Unfortunately, this didn't materialize. So in December, when we went to veto session, I started pre-filing legislation totaling 29 bills this year. Been very busy in 3 HCRs. Filing bills early allows you to work with all parties to get things done, including House Bill 1272, with the mayor and I worked on with trying to get MoDOT to work on our highways and byways in the city of Florissant and doing some beautification and also some landscaping. House Bill 1286, MSD, although it was not signed by the governor, MSD did sit down at the table and increase punitive damages due to a backflow into your basement. It was $2,400. Now you would receive $3,000, although it seems like a very small increase of $600 per household per occurrence. That's $3.1 million worth of insurance coverage, but no increase to the consumer because we've had such great work with MSD on working on backflow preventers and other things in the St. Louis metropolitan area. Proud today, House Bill 1231 was signed by the governor. It was an omnibus bill. Section 488.2245 was my section of the bill that will allow the city of Florissant, the judge, to impose another $10 of court fees to build a new courthouse, which we're in right now. It's used 8 times a month, but this would allow, I know there's some discussion about possibly building or going to another area. This would allow the city of Florissant to impose up to $10 per fine for the construction of a new courthouse. And this is something they're doing all over the state. Also, a bill that makes it a crime to protest veterans' funerals. That is part of that bill as well, which is very near and dear to me. As you know, you've heard stories across not only Missouri, but across the United States. You see protesters protesting those that have deceased in war or are veterans, and now it is a crime to protest those funerals. January, we had 2 HCRs that I filed, HCR 4 and 5. They started out with HCR 3, so it was very early. Was the Keystone Pipeline, was supported by the governor. Jobs bill to bring the Keystone Pipeline, if not through Missouri, then through one of our bordering states for jobs, a job creator. At the end of March, or the end of filing, I had sponsored 157 bills, and out of the 157 bills, nearly 60 of those have become law. So we worked very hard with both sides of the aisle to make things happen, and we're currently working with Westlake Landfill on the cleanup there, with Jeff Abusi and the building trades, and also with Missouri American Water on making sure the quality of the water we drink is at the finest. Today, of all days, July 14th is a big day. It's the last day that the governor can either sign, veto, or let bills just go into law. And after vetoing today Senate Bill 656, which is a gun bill that the Hazelwood School Board and also the Ferguson-Florissant School Board adamantly opposed, and also Senate Bill 841, which is the e-cig bill, which the American Cancer Society, we have a representative here also, he vetoed that bill, totaling 33 vetoes and 159 line item vetoes on the budget. This is 2 short of tying and 3 shy of an all-time high of vetoes ever recorded by Governor John Dalton in 1961. So it goes to show you that we have a lot of legislation out there that is not good for our state. I received emails from Tim Fischhauser, the Executive Director of Missouri, the Municipal League, on the veto bills that will impact us here at home. I'll be working hand in hand with him in the near future before the September veto session on making sure, and of course, thank you, Mayor, for sending your email, on making sure that we have legislation that would be damaging for our city. The August 5th primary, we have 5 amendments that I wanted to announce to be voted on. Amendment 1 is an agriculture bill. It's a farm bill that guarantees farmers and ranchers the right to engage in their livelihoods, produce food for others. Amendment 5 is a firearms bill, establishes the rights to keep and bear arms, ammunition, and accessories. Amendment 7 is a taxes bill. It increases the state sales tax and use tax for 10 years to fund transportation projects. Amendment 8, which is also a bill that is near and dear to me, it's a lottery bill. It creates a new lottery ticket that profits go towards veterans programs in the state of Missouri. Amendment 9 is a civil rights bill. It protects electronic data from unreasonable search and seizure. Those are just on the August primary. We do have 3 bills in the general election. It's been a very busy year, and I've looked forward to hearing from each and every one of you, all the residents of the 68th District, and on those truly passed and vetoed legislation and concerns you may have. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak before you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. English. Next item on the agenda is hearing from citizens. If you are here to speak on the pay bill that is on the floor this evening, I would ask that you wait until that pay bill gets to the floor, and then we will have a portion of the meeting dedicated for citizens that wish to speak about that. First, Jerome Whitehead. Mr. Whitehead. And for the record, sir, if you'll please state your name and your address, I would greatly appreciate it.
Florissant, and I thank the mayor and the council for letting me just a few words. My main concern of making an appearance is last 2 years, or a couple of years ago, we made a statement at one of the meetings that there's a stretch of road between both St. Charles area roads on the north and south of Washington, right by where Shark's Pharmacy used to be. And there's a raised manhole that is there, and one of these days, I'm afraid there's going to be an accident there because people drive around trying to not hit that manhole, and I myself have done it, and I've noticed they've hit the curb a couple of times. So I just wanted to make a statement that maybe something through the council with, I don't know whether it's the Florissant Street or MoDOT or St. Louis County, whatever, but maybe something can be done that with that raised manhole. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Karen McKay. And Ms. McKay, I know you're a friend of the council, but please, for record, if you'll state your name and address.
Thank you, Council President, Mayor, and council members. My name is Karen McKay. I live at 27 New Hope Court, and I am a past council member. And Mrs. Pagano, thank you for your service. I really appreciate it. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. I do have a statement I'd like to make. On June 29th, I sent an email to council as a whole on an issue that's before this council tonight, and I will come back up if I need to to make a second statement based on my feelings on how the vote goes. I had a response from my councilwoman. I had a response from the council president. I had a response from 7 out of 9 council members. I find it very disrespectful to a resident who lives in the city of Florissant, who has been here for 63 years, not to respond, even if it was just something that said, I received your email, thank you, Ms. McKay, I will look into the issue. When you sit on this city council, you have a responsibility to not just me, somebody that lives in your ward, as I do in Mrs. Pagano's ward. Again, thank you, Jackie. But you have a responsibility to every citizen that comes up before you to make a response, whether it's just, thank you for your email, I received it, I'll look into it. But when you ignore me, I haven't been before this council since I've been out of office. I will be back up here every night, and I will speak to those who have not responded to my email. And it's not a threat, it's a promise. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKay. Dawn Spink, I believe you wish to speak on increased salaries, and I believe that should probably come up during the bill reading, if that's okay. And I believe the other 2 speaker cards I have here are also regarding the pay bill, and I would ask those folks to wait until it comes up on the agenda this evening to make their comments. Next item on the agenda would be communications. Clerk, please read the communications.
Email dated June 28, 2014 from Karen McKay regarding salaries. Email dated July 7, 2014 from Amber Lee regarding the fireworks. Email dated July 7, 2014 from Mark Bellman regarding election signs. Email dated July 8, 2014 from Beth Spafford regarding fireworks display. Email dated July 8, 2014 from Jeff Cook regarding the fireworks display. And letter dated July 10, 2014 from Tom Bezzetta regarding illegal immigrants.
Thank you. Item number 8 on the agenda is public hearings. Public hearing 1407-016.
In accordance with Section 405-310 of the Florissant Zoning Code, a public hearing will be held by the City Council of Florissant, Missouri in the council chambers at 955 Rue St. Francois on Monday, July 14, 2014 at 7 p.m. on the following proposition. To authorize a special use permit to Total Tan Incorporated DBA Club Fitness to allow for the operation of a fitness center for the property located at 745 North Highway 67. Citizens will have an opportunity to be heard. Anyone with special needs should contact the city clerk at least 5 days before said public hearing by calling 839-7630 or TDD 839-5142.
Very good. Is a petitioner present? Come on up, gentlemen. If you'd be so kind as to state your name and address for the record.
Shopping center. That's at Tempo Club Fitness at 3701 North Highway. I'm sorry, 3701 North St.
All right, gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, essentially, Club Fitness has been in Florissant for a long time, and they are currently in their own building, which is a little bit of a difficult building for them to work with. And we have recently acquired 2 large vacancies at Florissant Plaza. One, Michael's moved out, and Petco moved out.
Sir, could you talk into the microphone, please?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You can actually take that out if you wish.
I'm just trying.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's all right. My apology. So basically, we're in the process of renovating the shopping center, and Club Fitness is interested in moving into the space that once belonged to Michael's. We went through planning and zoning, and essentially past planning and zoning, there were some questions regarding the new parking ordinance that was recently passed, so we kind of went through and updated a parking table for that, which I believe you probably have, and it shows that we do currently have enough parking for Club Fitness. With that said, we think that they should be able to move in, and they should be able to operate without any issues with respect to parking. So, if you have any questions or.
I'm just here to answer any questions you guys might have about Club Fitness.
Yeah, I do have a question. What would your hours of operation be, and can you tell me what you think your impact on the neighborhood will be in the new facility as opposed to where you're currently at now?
Basically, we'll actually have a little bit more parking. Our hours will be 24 hours. We'll be a 24-hour facility, but the new location actually has triple the amount of parking spaces than we currently have now. Also, we'll just have more space for our patrons to have a little bit more free space to exercise in. Currently, we have about 12,000 square feet, and the new facility is about 18,000 square feet. So we'll have we're not going to have much more equipment. We're just going to have some more free space, bigger locker rooms, things like that, so people aren't so crowded inside the facility.
And are you currently 24 hours right now?
I believe the location actually right now is open from 4 a.m. to midnight. Most of our locations are open 24 hours at this point. This is one that still is not open 24 hours.
And before I turn it over to another councilman, do you have a minimum staffing requirement for a 24-hour facility?
We do not, but at this location we will probably have a minimum of 2 employees staffed overnight.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Caputa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I have one question. I noticed that the facade out there that you're working on, what kind of material is going to be the final product of the facade?
Well, it's a mixture of brick and EFS.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I just want to let you know I'm a councilman in Ward 2 where you guys are going, and I've been in the empty building many times. And
Thank you very much. Before we close this public hearing, is there anyone in the audience that would like to make comment? Seeing none, Mr. Jones moves to close the meeting. Public hearing seconded by Mr. Schildroff. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Public hearing 1407-017.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with Chapter 410020 of the Florissant Code of Ordinances, the subdivision ordinance as amended, that a public hearing will be held by the City Council in the City of Florissant, St. Louis County, Missouri, in the council chambers at 955 Rue St. Francois on Monday, July 14, 2014 at 7 p.m. on the following proposition. To approve a final subdivision plat of the re-subdivision of Block 97 and part of Block 96 of the new town of St. Ferdinand subdivision for the property located at 955 North Highway 67. Citizens and parties of interest will have an opportunity to be heard at said public hearing. Anyone with special needs should contact the city clerk at least 5 days before said public hearing by calling 839-73630 or TD 9839-5142.
And thank you very much. Is the petitioner present? Mr. Worm? Anyone from? Sorry. Anyone from Culver's? Culver's? Oh, we have Culver's. We'll take Culver's. Step forward, please, sir. If you'll state your name and your address for the record, I'd be appreciative.
My name is Ross Henson with Archer Elgin Engineering. We're the design consultant for Culver's. I don't know much about the subdivision plat with the exception of we're just acquiring one of the lots that'll be divided.
Very good. Seeing no comments from the council, is there anyone from the audience that would like to weigh in on this public hearing at this time? Seeing none, Ms. Pagano motions to close the public hearing, seconded by Mr. Schmidt. All in favor? Opposed? Public hearing is closed. We have a procedural change here because of the Culver's bill that's coming up. We have a second and third reading for the B5 for Culver's Restaurant on the agenda for this evening. Procedurally, the subdivision for this property needs to be passed before the B5 for Culver's can be passed. In light of that, I move to amend the agenda to move Bill 9014 to very next on the agenda, and has been seconded by Mr. Shildroff. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Clerk, if you will read Bill 9014, please.
Ordinance to approve the final subdivision plat of the re-subdivision of Block 97 and part of Block 96 of the new Town of St. Ferdinand subdivision for the property located at 955 North Highway 67.
Thank you. Mr. Hinkie moves for a second reading, seconded by Mr. Hernandez. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Discussion. Clerk, please read.
Ordinance to approve the final subdivision plat of the re-subdivision of Block 97 and part of Block 96 of the new Town of St. Ferdinand subdivision for the property located at 955 North Highway 67.
Thank you. And Mr. Hinkie moves for a third reading, seconded by myself. Roll call vote, please.
Hernandez. Lee. Jones.
Yes.
Egan.
Yes.
Caputa.
Yes.
Shildroth.
Yes.
Hanky.
Yes.
Pagano. Schmidt. Ordinance to approve the final subdivision plat of the re-subdivision of Block 97, part of Block 96 of the new Town St. Ferdinand subdivision for the property located at 955 North Highway 67.
Prior to the third reading, is there anyone in attendance that would like to comment? Seeing none, clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Hernandez. Lee. Jones.
Yes.
Egan.
Yes?
Caputa.
Yes.
Shildroth.
Yes.
Hanky.
Yes.
Pagano. Schmidt.
Bill 9014 passes and becomes ordinance 8057, 8057.
We'll go back to second readings.
I beg pardon? Now we'll go on to old business. Item number 1 on old business is second readings. I will make a motion to add a substitute bill under S9009, S9009. I will,
No, we're doing Culver.
I beg pardon? Oh, we did Culver's? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Second readings, 9008. I should probably have my glasses out. 9008, please read.
Need to move first. For a second.
And a second reading motion by Mr. Hinkie again. And that motion is seconded by Ms. Pagano. All in favor? Aye, and opposed.
Ordinance to rezone for S&H Foods DBA Culver's from an R4 zoning district to a B5 planned commercial district to allow for the construction of a new sit-down carry-out drive-through restaurant located at 955 North Highway 67.
Very good. Mr. Shildroff moves for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Jones. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance to rezone for S&H Foods DBA Culver's from the R4 zoning district to a B5 planned commercial district to allow for the construction of a new sit-down carry-out and drive-through restaurant located at 955 North Highway 67.
Prior to a final vote being taken by the council, is there anyone that would like to make a statement regarding this bill? Mayor?
As far as I know, Mr. President, just about everybody wants the Culvers.
Clerk, please, Pete, please poll the council.
Hernandez. Lee. Jones. Egan.
Yes?
Caputa. Shildroth. Hanky.
Yes.
Pagano. Schmidt.
The motion carries, and 9008 now becomes ordinance 8058. 8058. That's a very good day.
I'll sign it now.
All right, now we're second reading for, we're in S9009, 9009. I will make a motion to accept a substitute bill that has been filed, and that is seconded by Ms. Pagano. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I will now make a motion to read the bill for the second time, and that is seconded by Mr. Schmidt. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Clerk?
Ordinance to repeal ordinance numbers 7753, 7754, 7768, 7777, 7957, 8013, and 8015, and all ordinances in conflict therewith pertaining to wage range and job classification for full-time employees, and enacting in lieu thereof a new ordinance relating to the same subject and containing an effective date clause.
Thank you. Mr. Lee?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Am I working? Thank you. I'd like to be offering a couple of amendments this evening. The first amending I'm offering is to change Section 2C, line 46, to add the words "our most recent promotion." And that amendment would also include the whereas statement on page 1, line 4. Before I make that amendment, or offer that amendment, I'd like to make a few comments. I'm offering it to retain the wording that's in the current ordinance 7753, which was written into the substitute bill, a step increase based upon completion of a positive evaluation. An employee, when promoted, is guaranteed a minimum of 5% at the time of a promotion from their starting grade, are the salary for that step. It stands to reason that prior to their performance was part of the reason they've got the promotion. I believe in fairness they should be evaluated for their next step increase after a 1 year at their current position. Would it be appropriate for an employee to receive a promotion and a minimum of 5% increase in pay, say in June, and then in that same year receive an additional 2% increase just a week or a month later if their date of hire happens to be in July? This is why I'm offering this amendment to add the words "our most recent promotion" to this bill, and I urge the council to consider that amendment.
A motion's been made. A motion's been seconded. Clerk, please poll the council for a roll call vote.
Hernandez? Lee? Jones? No. Egan?
No?
Caputa?
No.
Shildroth? No. Hanky?
No.
Pagano? Schmidt?
Motion fails. Do you have another comment, Mr. Lee?
I actually have some other amendments. If you want me to do them separately.
Go ahead and proceed with any additional amendments you have.
Thank you, Mr. President. The second amendment I would like to ask council to consider is an amendment to Section 2, line 44, to add the words "effective December 1st, 2014." Also the whereas statement on page 1, line 23. I'm offering the amendment because I believe it is necessary in order to be fair to all employees. I fully support and agree with the restoration of the STEP plan. In fact, I was one that made the motion to do so during the budget work session in 2012. However, if this bill is passed without an effective date, employees with a date of hire are, let's take that out because we're not going to do the date of last promotion, so people with a date of hire of July 15th or later would be eligible for the additional 2% increase this fiscal year, while those employees who have a date of hire of December 1st through July 14th would not be eligible for consideration until next fiscal year. Historically, all employees are treated the same when it comes to step increases. They are based on a fiscal year. In our last fiscal year, for example, all employees received a 2% increase on December 1st and were eligible for an additional 1% step at their date of hire or last promotion. I fully support the STEP plan as the council voted to do in 2012. However, I think in fairness to all employees, it should be effective December 1st, 2014 at the start of the next fiscal year. So I'm offering that amendment at this time.
There is a motion on the floor. A motion has been seconded by Mr. Hernandez. Before we take a vote, I would like to make a statement on that. I spoke with the city attorney, Mr. Hessel, and please correct me if I'm wrong. The interpretation is as Mr. Lee has stated, that anyone who, if that bill goes in effect tonight, tomorrow would be eligible for their step increase, correct? Thank you very much. And I guess my opinion this is, regardless of when we institute the step pay plan, whether it be instituted as of today or as of December 1st or whenever, someone's going to be disenfranchised, which is one of the reasons that I personally push for the 1% in this bill, that everyone would get something today and some people would not have to wait. But if we do it December 1st and your hire date is November, you got to wait a year. You got to wait 11 months. So that's why I would be opposed to that.
Just
ordinance.
to clarify, Ms. Regan, this does not affect the 1% across the board that all employees would receive. It would be just that a small group of people would be getting the additional consideration for a two-step. Is that not correct?
Well, you would be, the way I interpret the ordinance, you'd be eligible right away, yes. And regardless of when we put it in, if we put it in October 1st, the people who got hired September 29th are going to feel disenfranchised.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
and
the
again-
nature of the beast.
And again, I'm not going to beat this dead horse evidently, but I believe all employees should be treated the same. They've always been their step increases have always been subject to appropriation in a budget year that affected everyone. So this is going to be a big change. So again, I've had enough said.
Thank you. Clerk, please take a roll call vote.
Hernandez? Yes. Lee? Yes. Jones? No. Egan?
No.
Caputa? No. Shildroth?
No.
Hickey? No. Pagano? No. Schmidt?
All right, the motion fails. Mr. Lee, additional motions?
President, I'd like to offer an amendment to Section 2, Chapter 125-065A, line 39, which is the table that returns 8 positions, that would return the 8 positions to their current pay grades as indicated in ordinance number 7753. I'm offering this amendment for several reasons. First of all, I don't believe it's fair to only consider a few positions for upgrades. We should be looking at all positions. I do not think it is proper to be considering these bills in the 8th month of our budget year. Historically, these things are considered as part of the regular budget process. The substitute bill as written covers several items all in one bill. Historically, council would discuss and consider each of these items separately and again do this during the normal budget process. The city paid tens of thousands of dollars for an outside independent review of our compensation and classification systems several years ago, and that is a copy of that right here. I don't know how many council people have reviewed this. It involved hundreds, if not thousands, of man-hours of work, both by the consultant as well as by city employees. Employees submitted their own description of duties, were involved in an interview process by the firm, and preliminary results were reviewed by staff prior to final recommendations. The final recommendations by the firm was submitted in August of 2009. It was discussed in detail for over a year with some changes made before it was unanimously adopted in November of 2010. Before we consider these upgrades, I'd like to see similar documentation and detail. And again, in fairness, I think it should include all employees. So I'm going to urge the council to support this amendment as well.
There's a motion on the floor. And that motion is seconded by Mr. Hernandez. Any comments from Diaz? Ms. Pagano.
Yes, maybe you can answer this, Mr. Lee, because I've asked, and the research that I got was different, that when the company came in to do this, they set the pay grade up and the steps. And when it came back, some employees were dissatisfied with where they were, correct? And it was made as a stepping stone for us and a guideline for the council to go, and then we were to tweak it, per se, to how we thought it was supposed to go. Did I hear correct? I mean, I just want to make sure, because this was important. So now I think what has happened when the police chief, had come to us and said he's in fear of losing some of his employees, and one in particular, without this grade. This is where the committee started, and when the department heads looked down, these were where they thought some of them should be placed. We have taken a couple of the grades and reduced their grades in this bill that we're bringing up to hopefully go over every employee and every grade at budget time. But right now, in fear of losing, and I believe that HVAC, that we moved up one grade, we took the call pay off. So that it's sort of washed, but it helped him. So as long as I'm understanding, sort of how that program came about, how the step plan came about, and then the step plan had somewhat stopped, right? I mean, we don't have that anymore. And now we're reinstating it, but I just want to make sure. So now somebody has tweaked it a little bit, and hopefully at budget time, we can look at every class, every grade, and see where they're at. So,
Mr. Lee, you may respond.
Thank you. After receiving the recommendation, there was a lot of discussion with administration and with the council before it was adopted. It was also stated at that time that the salaries needed to be periodically reviewed and looking outside to see if we were keeping current and keeping up with that. I think, I can't speak for the rest of the council, but the council unanimously voted to do an outside independent salary survey of all of our positions during a prior budget year, and for reasons that I don't know, the administration chose not to do that. Instead, and unless you got something different than I got a 2-line brief explanation on each one of these things saying why they should be changed. I asked whether there were salary surveys done, and the answer that I got was salaries were not, money was not the issue here, and that basically no salary surveys were done. Again, I don't disagree with the fact that these positions, or even for that matter, the department head positions, need to be addressed and looked at. I just don't think, in fairness, we should be picking out these and trying to do them in the middle of a budget year. That's why we appropriated funds previously to do that, so we wouldn't be stuck here. The mayor made a recommendation when he submitted his budget to us for this year, and he recommended no pay raises for all city employees. Now we're coming back in the 8th month of the budget year and picking out some specific pay grades, and I just don't think that's appropriate, and I don't think it's fair. So,
Thank you. You know, if I could address a little bit of that, Mr. Lee, I sat on that committee. I was invited to sit on the committee, and it was my understanding that the people, the department heads, were to go back to their various departments and look at each employee and locate a spot for them to be on the pay plan. This became, the reason I believe we're doing it right now, in my opinion, became a crisis. We at one point in time had what I would call significant number of police officers who were looking to go elsewhere. And my goal was that we would keep the city safe and we keep our police department stable, which is why I beseeched the mayor to move this up as soon as we can. But the department heads came back with those recommendations that we've seen, that we're on the pay plan that's been on the floor right now. They came back with those as their recommendations, and I would be willing at the next budget time to look at anyone, just like we did last year with Mr. Luster and a variety of people. Mr. Lee?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Egan. I'm just going to make a comment that I sat on that committee. I was asked to sit on that committee too, and then I was kind of, without notice, not invited back again. I don't know if it's because I wasn't agreeing with the flow or whatever, but I was asked not to come back to that committee again. But I'm going to go back to what you just said about the police officers. We received a memo prior to this salary bill that talked about the concern about losing police officers, that we've lost 5 police officers, 2 of them to private entity, 3 to elsewhere. And I am very concerned about that as well. I'm as concerned about it as you or anybody else. But I don't see where this substitute bill or the original bill does anything for those police officers. In documentation that we received from the chief of police, we find that our police officers are anywhere between number 22 and 26 on the list of pay of metropolitan police officers. And the same thing held true in the documentation that we got from the chief for our sergeants, our lieutenants, and our captains. So what concerns me is that we get this memo talking about the concern about losing police officers, good police officers, and we need to do something. The only other position that was mentioned in that memo was 1 building inspector that left. This opened up this pay plan, or this whole bill that we have before us, and in my opinion, nothing's done to address those police officers. Now, they're going to get the same, and and Mr. McDaniel is here, he can verify this if he wants. It's less than 1% on average for the employees. That's what we're going to do by putting the state step plan, which I fully support. And I'm really glad that the substitute bill added that additional 1%. So that means the average for the average employee across the board is going to be less than 2%. So I guess I will ask you, you authored the original bill and you're co-sponsoring the substitute, why we didn't address the police officer issue, because I don't think this does it. Instead, we're looking at 8 other positions that were not part of the memo that raised the red flag and caused the uproar. So, and that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. I will address that. I've been in conversations with the chief of police, and as most people know, I'm a police officer, and I have contacts in the police community. And the police officers are extremely supportive of this bill. What this does is gives them hope. The current pay plan that we have offers not only our police officers, offers no one who works for the city of Florissant any hope. You're hired, you have a starting pay, and then you retire. There's a possible cap in each classification, but you never get there. And so there's no hope for moving on. If one of my children was going to be a police officer, as of this moment, I'd tell them not to come to the city of Florissant because there's no pay benefit for you. And we are seeing more and more officers going to places like St. Peter's and Wentzville and O'Fallon and places like that where they do have a step increase that you start at a pay level, and each year you go up a little bit until you reach that maximum pay. As of right now in the city of Florissant, we don't have that, and it does not offer them any hope. Mr. Hinkie.
Yes. As far as the singling out, if you want to use that terminology, of these 8 here, I personally believe that when you're reviewing personnel issues, salary, it should basically be an ongoing process, not just one time a year. And if it's doable, if something comes up and we see a problem with it that we can fix, I think we should do it at the time that we can fix it. I think we're tasked with getting stuff done. This 8 right here, that's maybe just a start. Other things may come. I think it would give a little more hope to the employees to see that it's just not a one-shot-a-year deal and then you wait till the next cycle again. I wouldn't mind ongoing negotiations, if you will, or discussion of where we find anomalies or problems with the pay system or particularly different employees. We'll address it as they come up throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
And Mr. Egan, in all due respect, you addressed, there's an amendment, I'm going to be offering this amendment, and you're addressing the step plan for the police officers, which is not really what we're talking about. I support the step plan as well. And I don't know if you talk to your contacts in law enforcement and ask them how they feel about these 8 other people or these 8 other positions getting upgraded. Because I don't see I don't see in the original bill or the substitute bill making police officers, sergeants, lieutenants, and captains raising their pay grade or doing something to address that police salary. So whereas they may be very happy with the pay plan, which I support, I don't know that the police officers, are going to be very happy that these other people are going to get what amounts to, it started out as up to a 30% increase in pay grade, that they're all going to get a 10% increase in pay grade, and that the average employee, including our police officers, are going to get less than 2%. So that's my only comments, and I offer that amendment at this time.
All right, very good. And I would respond that the IT guy is very important to the police officers. It's a guy who rides around in the police car every day of my life. My IT guy is one of my lifelines, and I would be very appreciative they took care of my guy where I work. So I would suggest that the officers, it doesn't bother them. But I think we'll call for the question and on the motion that's on the floor. And clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
This is on the amendment.
This is on the amendment.
This is on amendment number 3.
Correct.
Okay. Hernandez? Yes. Lee?
Yes.
Jones?
No.
Egan?
No.
Caputa?
No.
Shildroth?
No.
Hinkie?
No.
Pagano? No. Schmidt?
The motion fails. Mr. Lee, are there any more motions?
Yes, sir, thank you. I'll make one more amendment. I would like to amend, remove Section 4, line 59 from this bill in its entirety. I'm offering this amendment because the vote has already been made to upgrade the accounting clerks from a pay grade 4 to a pay grade 5. This is a 10% increase in the pay grade. The City of Florissant has many hardworking employees in other departments with clerk positions. If they were all the same pay grade, it could be reasoned that doing specialties of payroll and accounts payable would justify additional pay while they were being performed. However, if the clerks in this group are being raised a pay grade, which amounts to 10%, I don't feel it would be appropriate to pay them the additional $1 an hour when they're doing these specialty tasks. So that's my amendment.
There's an amendment on the floor. Amendment has been seconded. For discussion purposes, I will just weigh in that it's my understanding that those clerks are restricted in days that they can take off in certain budget seasons and payroll days. So I won't be supporting this amendment. Any other discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment on the floor.
Hernandez. Yes. Lee. Yes. Jones.
No.
Hagan.
No.
Caputa.
No.
Shildroth.
No.
Hanky.
No.
Pagano. No. Schmidt.
No.
Motion fails. Mr. Lee.
Mr. Egan, I just want to thank the council for their consideration. I sent these amendments out to give everybody time to review them. I respect the process and just ask that my comments and the amendments be made part of the record.
Thank you. Clerk, please read. We read it a second time, did we?
Need a motion for a third.
Okay, motion for a third. I will make a motion for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Shildroth. All in favor? Hold on. Mr. Hernandez, I'm sorry.
As Mr. Lee proposed these amendments this evening, I was in agreement with quite a few of those. What I find uncharacteristic is we're making a mid-year appropriation for raises here, and of course, as he stated, the mayor had mentioned in the budget last November, that there'll be no raises this year. But I know this past 5 months, we've allocated $1,073,000 for golf course, golf cart lease, paying for a deck that we have to pay, and a few other items. We also allocated $423,000 for our front loader, trucks, and other equipment that we need. And now this mid-year appropriation for salary increase, which is uncharacteristic, is $144,000 from various budgets. So my concern is, over these last 5 months, 6 months into this budget year, we allocating over $1 million, $640,000. Normally we have a rollback about $1 million, $1.5 million, and I don't see that occurring this year when we're spending all this money in this year's budget. So I'm afraid that my concern is maybe digging into our reserves here in the fall. But I'm in favor of giving the employees a raise, but in all fairness, it should all be as one, not a few here and then more. Some of them get more later after December. So that was my concern as well. Our police force, you know, what can I say? That we need to have them, we need to support them, and we need to keep them. But this all spurred on the fact that we were losing 5, possibility of losing another 5, and yet somehow we spun off into this other different direction of all this other money when we should have been concentrating on focusing just maybe on the police force. I would have been a lot more happier maybe with that effect. But this is just my comments that I made, and I will support the bill, but reluctantly, I will support it because it's for the city of Florissant. But in our regard, I was seconding these motions because I wanted it to bring everybody's attention and to be concerned about our budget. The economy is still weak. It's still people getting laid off everywhere, and we do have a good employees from the top to bottom. They work hard. I've seen them out there. They've helped me, and what else can I say? Thank you.
All right, there is a motion on the floor for a third reading. Please poll the council.
In a second. And I'm just going to read it.
Yes.
Did you say all approved?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance to repeal ordinance number 7753, 7754, 7768, 7777, 7957, 8013, 8015, and all ordinances conflicted therewith, pertaining to wage range and job classifications for full-time employees and enacting in lieu thereof a new ordinance relating to the same subject and containing an effective date clause.
Thank you. Prior to a final vote being taken, Mr. Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. I'd just like to make a statement and make it part of the final record. I believe that one of the greatest assets in the city of Florissant are our dedicated and hardworking employees. We spend a lot of time and money training them, and it is everyone's best interest to retain these experienced, hardworking people. It's gratifying to me when we have so many employees with 20, 30, and even over 40 years of service. This speaks volumes. The City Council received the memo dated 5/16/2014 that voiced concerns over recent turnover by the police department. In the past 5 years, 5 officers left, with 2 going to the private sector, 3 going to other departments. The memo also states that a building inspector left to go to another municipality. As a result of this memo, we received bill number 9009. However, I immediately had issues with this bill. First, because it lumped so many changes into one ordinance. Second, it would have given huge salary increases to 4 department heads while doing very little for other city employees. We were told the average increase would be less than 1%. The bill would have given pay grade adjustments to 8 specific job classes, which meant pay grade adjustments between 10% and 30% for just a select few. The substitute bill introduced tonight will make significant changes. First of all city employees will receive an immediate 1% pay increase above the amount proposed in the original bill. And more importantly, the large increases for department heads was removed from the bill. I support these changes, but did not feel that it was sufficient. For this reason, I offered several amendments this evening, which I've asked to make part of the record. Again, I asked, did it do anything to address the original concerns for the police officers leaving the city? And I've already previously mentioned the statistics that we got from the chief as to how those positions are paid in comparison to the other municipalities. I fully support our employees and want to treat them all fairly and equally. I do not feel it is proper to single out just a few individuals or pay grades for salary or pay increases. We have a pay plan that was unanimously approved in 2010. This plan and any plan needs to be reviewed and updated periodically. And I was very glad to hear Mr. Henke say that he favors doing that and it should be an ongoing process. I'm not saying that salaries of the department heads or the other 8 job classes do not deserve a review and consideration for increase. In fact, I support several of them, but I think the survey and recommendation should come from an independent outside source. This is why the City Council appropriated funds for an outside independent salary survey some time ago, however, it wasn't done. Again, the mayor presented to City Council with a budget that did not include pay raises for 2013-2014 budget year, and this was passed. Now these recommended changes were brought to the City Council in the 8th month of the budget year. I think changes of this magnitude should be considered as part of the regular budget process. Finally, I have concerns that the original bill, as well as a substitute bill, included so many changes all in one bill. I'm faced with a choice of voting yes or no on the package as a whole rather than considering them separately. With that being said, I'm reluctantly voting yes tonight for this bill. The substitute bill has several positive changes, and I strongly support our employees making those salary increases. Again, I'd like to make that part of the record. Thank you.
Very good. Don Spink, I believe you filled out a speaker's card. If you'd like to step forward and comment on this bill. Please state your name and your address for the record, ma'am.
I am Dawn Spink. I'm 1836 Don Donna Drive. I know a couple of people up here on this board. I've spoke to my wardman in the past about several things that have happened in the city of Florissant. After listening to Elliot Davis on our news channel, because I can't afford cable, I don't get your charter, and I don't get the option to get UVerse. I cannot believe the body language that I have just seen throughout this entire process. I am disappointed in the fact all these people have so not even given the opportunity for Mr. Lee to even have anything said from the rest of us. You know, the Elliott Davis let us all know what was going on. Everything seemed to be behind closed doors. You know, some of the things that Tim has stated, I was sitting there asking Mr. Bellman, where can I read this? You know, the things that he wanted to incorporate. The body language that's so dishonorable in this room. I cannot believe this. I can't afford UVerse. It's 3 doors away from me. I've been asking for 6 years plus. Has the city helped on any of that? No. I first found out about this and I said, where's the money for the police officers? That's what we're going for, but we instead give it to the department heads? You know, my department at my company would like to have a ton of money to give out. You give money out to those who deserve it, okay? On a daily basis, we see this every day in the public eye. Everybody that works can tell you, honestly, if they're honest workers, if you get one little niche, you don't get a raise. You get the minimum. Say the city gives 2% increase. The minimum's a 2%. You cut back. You cut back on the raises this year. I've heard it. I have many neighbors as employees. But you're willing to give these supervisors raises? We're going to fall into the situation of Normandy and all them to where the school districts aren't going to be supporting our housing because our housing market is gone. Jeff, I was very disappointed in the fact when Club Fitness came up here and the only thing you had to ask about was what they were using as far as their fascia. Right there told me that you are strictly for a union. Right there, body language, okay? I am very disappointed in the fact that you guys, we all have been told in our years of experience of work, your body language tells a lot. I came in to get a permit from this city to get a privacy fence put up. You know how long? They told me 10 days. On the 10th day, I still had not heard from anybody. I called and called. I finally asked Tim Lee to actually help me. I can't get anybody. He was willing to come up and get it because I finally got a response. When I came in to get that permit, I got the most disrespectful people down there in that room. And it reminded me of going to the license bureau that we all know, that we all dread going to. You know, if you can honestly tell me that those employees deserve a raise, that's fine. But I'm telling you, I've been in this place and I just watched every last one of you people. Your body language, I seen you watching and trying to understand what Tim was trying to say. I seen you actually responding. I'm sorry, my 3 minutes may be up, but I am so disappointed in this board right now. It is unbelievable. And if you can, why don't you try and get UVerse for the whole city so we can watch this?
Thank you. Mark Bellman. Mr. Bellman, please state your name and your address for the record.
Pictures on the wall of the
Your name and address for record, please.
768 Charbonneir Road. Thank you for this opportunity. A couple of us last week went to a leadership breakfast at the Ferguson-Florissant School District, and we received a lesson on school financing. School district gets a little financing from several different areas. Some of that financing is earmarked strictly for capital improvements. Some of it is for capital improvements and salaries. We also learned at the Ferguson-Florissant leadership breakfast is that the school district ran out of money last year. And they ran out of money and they had to borrow money in order to make payroll. Now that's not widely known, but the CFO of the school district is talking about how desperate they need their money. They also projected that again, this upcoming school year, their situation is going to be similar. They're going to have to borrow money to make payroll. So this creates a big concern, and everybody who are employers want to be able to give their employees raises. But it has to be budgeted and it has to be figured for in a proper time frame. Unions do not get raises in mid-year. It's based on a contract. So my concern is, where does our money for the city come from and how does it get spent? Several years ago, being on the Parks Foundation Board, we supported a tax for the parks.
And everybody got behind it. We all supported it, and it was a planned process. We went to the community overwhelmingly supported this tax. But this tax was for our parks. Now my question to you all is now, is that money going to the parks, or is it subsidizing salaries? And this is a concern, because if it's supposed to be for the parks, and it's being used for salaries, then that's wrong. No different than what we learned about the gambling tax that was collected, that was supposedly going for schools, which in a roundabout way, as we heard, it is, but it goes into the general revenue. It's not earmarked for additional money to schools. So the only other thing that I have to ask is that it's really amazing that in today's technology, a week ago on Wednesday, we had a malfunction for the cable system, and that this couldn't be publicized to the general public. Now, that just amazes me. For whatever reason, last Wednesday, we knew that we were going to have technical difficulties today. Makes absolutely no sense to me. So, whoever makes those kind of decisions, or how that happens, somebody either is not doing their job or somebody's not doing their job. Thank you.
Karen McKay.
Karen McKay, 27 New Hope Court. Gentlemen, ladies, this is a bill that's really controversial to a lot of people. You know, as I sat on the council from 2000 to 2011, we had the budget process that took place every year. Our city attorney was there. The budget was submitted by the mayor. The council had the responsibility to do the final due diligence as far as passing that budget. In years past, there were a lot of controversial issues, and I am sad to say that there were several budgets that I didn't support. Mr. Bellman has mentioned a few. I don't want to go into that because this evening, what's before this council is a bill that is to support pay increases and a select few of people. And I do want to thank the mayor for withdrawing the raises for the department heads based on the fact that there was a lot of public and social media that caused you to do that. That I know for a fact because I was one of those that wrote a letter. And again, I had 7 members of 9 who responded to the request to please take a look at what we were doing 3/4 of the way into a budget. Joe, you responded to me based on information as a police officer, and I actually, appreciate that because you're an officer in another city. Our cities are all different, and in years past, when we had the study done for the pay scale and for the steps, it was always done through an outside source. I understand the council appropriated funds for an outside source to do that study. It didn't happen. A committee was selected by the mayor of people on his administration side to make the recommendations. There are a lot of new faces sitting up here. You have a due diligence, and you have a responsibility because you are the final vote when it comes to the funding of city tax dollars. The administration submits their budget based on the funds that are in the budget at that time. There's lots of sources that money comes in from. And Mark, you've senior member on this council. He's been through a lot of different budgets. Mr. Lee has been through as many as I had in years past. And there were a lot of budgets that I couldn't support based on the way the funding was appropriated. All I ask is that you take a look at what's before you. You are the 9 members of this city that were elected to make sure that the appropriations of the city funds are appropriated for the right reasons and for the right way. This is not 3/4 of the way into a budget time to be making decisions on changes. Joe, I know for a fact, for many years, we had police officers that quit our force. Not just 5, 6, 7, 8 of them quit a year. It had nothing to do with the police force. We have employees that work for the city. You're talking about every employee in this city, not just the police force, although they are the biggest employee force that we have. I highly support the Florissant Police Department. I highly support the administration and this council. Do your due diligence. Do your homework. Put a pile of papers in front of you and do your homework. That's your job, not mine. I'm a citizen and I'm watching. And if you pass this bill this evening, it's on you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Caney. Laura Caney. Ms. Caney, for the record, please state your name and your address, please.
My name is Laura Caney, and I live at 120 St. Anthony Lane. So I've lived here for 10 years, and I am the only, I believe, single homeowner on my street. I am one of the few homeowners on my street. I have trained for 5 half marathons and 1 full marathon on the streets of Florissant. That means that I run sometimes 20 miles through the city streets, sometimes at 4:30 in the morning, sometimes at 8:30 at night. I want to be safe. I see the police officers. I see the maintenance workers. I see the health department. I see all their faces. I don't see the supervisors. They're not the ones keeping me safe. They're not the ones cleaning up my street, making sure that I'm not running through trash, making sure that I'm safe to run at 4:30 in the morning. I live next door to a vacant house. 2 weeks ago, I mowed their grass. I did it because I want to live in a neighborhood that is safe, that is friendly, that is inviting. That's why I bought my house. That is why I took my income and I chose to move to Florissant. The police officer stopped me. He knew it was a vacant property. What he also knew was that it was going to be another 2-3 weeks before the health department came out to mow the grass. It was already a small prairie, and had I waited another week, my lawnmower wouldn't have made it. These people need to be paid because I live here, and you're worried about police officers leaving? Homeowners are going to go too. And already my property value is so far lower than what I owe on my mortgage. I've considered just walking away. And then what? I live here and I stay here because I enjoy it, because I like the diversity, and because I like the community. But you take that away, and this becomes Normandy and Riverview.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Caney. Matt Kroll. Matt Kroll. Mr. Kroll, for the record, please state your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Matthew Kroll, 1580 Bobbin Ray, Ward 3. I'm here tonight to show my support for the employee salary plan, which includes the merit increases. I have lived in Florissant all my life and continue to live in Florissant. While growing up, I've always wanted to be a police officer. I joined the Florissant Police Explorer Post at the age of 14, and I continued with the post until March of 2005, when I was hired by the city as a student police officer. I was soon enlisted in the St. Louis County Police Academy and graduated in August of 2005. I began my career as a police officer with the Florissant Police Department. As I grew with the department, I began to attend numerous hours of specialized training, including field officer training, crisis intervention officer, certified in breathalyzer maintenance and training every officer in using these instruments, and also accident reconstruction. All this training came at a cost to the department and city to tens of thousands of dollars. Recently, I began to look at my future. Approximately 4 years ago, the current pay system for the city employees went into effect. I was disappointed with the decision, but I gave it a shot to see how it would pay out. However, year after year, for about the past 3 years, there have been no step increases given to any city employee. So, with no raise in sight, I began to look at my career with the city and looked at my options, which included researching other municipalities. So with no indications of a step increase, I made the decision to apply at another agency and was offered a job in mid-April with another agency, which I accepted. I stand in front of you, the council, tonight to encourage you to vote yes for this ordinance as written to keep the trend of qualified and highly trained, dedicated city employees from leaving to surrounding municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. Shane Monig. Mr. Monig. Mr. Monig, for the record, if you'll state your name and your home address, I'd be appreciative.
Shane Monig, 11884 Brookington Drive, Bridgeton, Missouri. Mayor, President, Council. My name's Shane Monig. I'm a lifetime member of North St. Louis County. I grew up in Delwood, graduated McClure Senior High School. I attended Columbia College. I received my bachelor's degree in criminal justice administration, and my associate's degree is in general education. I became a police officer in 1997, and for 13 years worked for the city of St. John. While at the city of St. John, I was detached to narcotics for approximately 10 years. While a police officer in St. John, I was awarded the Officer of the Year award twice. I received numerous commendations. My relationships with many municipalities, state agencies, federal agencies grew, and when it was my turn to come back to the road in St. John, I had an opportunity to become a sergeant. There's an opportunity to come to the Florissant Police Department. I have many family members living in the city, also in Ferguson and neighboring municipalities. Florissant, there's always been an opportunity with the large department, both financially but professionally also. Growing up through the ranks, be the Detective Bureau, Sergeant, so on and so forth. In 2010, I applied and I was hired as a police officer here in your city. My DSN was 595. At 1 year, I was taken after my probation. I was put in the Mobile Reserve Unit, your guys' anti-crime unit here. It's a very important group. I took much pride in that group. You guys need to know that 2 months into my employment here in 2010, as at that time a 15-year would-be decorated officer with an education, I was being paid bare minimum of what a starting police officer would make. I was okay with that because I knew I had step increases, and I knew that my performance, my education, and my training would bring me up professionally through the department. In that December of 2010, the step increase was taken away. It was a shock. I took a pay cut to come here from the city of St. John. I was well liked. I was probably loved there. I love the city of St. John, but I also loved working for the city of Florissant. I had a great time working here. The pay scale was taken away. I'm not a 21-year-old rookie police officer. I'll be 39 years old. I'm coming on my 18th year of police work. I'm married. I have 3 children. I live in North St. Louis County. Florissant is where I wanted to be. In 2012, in June, I was approached by a corporation on handling their security and advising them on criminal investigations. And after speaking to peers, supervisors, and leadership from this department, police department, and other police departments, I took that position. It was scary. scary. I'm a police officer. That's what I do, and that's what I do for this corporation. I did not want to leave the city of Florissant. I wanted to work at the city of Florissant for the rest of my career. Like I said, I am a police officer. This pay increase is a needed thing. It needs to be put back in place, or you're going to lose more. Your city is only as strong as your police department. I understand that there's many other working areas of the city, and they're needed. I understand that, but I have a relationship with probably 80 municipalities within St. Louis County alone, and 50 municipalities that have the police departments. They're safe, and you want your trained, educated police officers to stay here, and without the pay, they're not going to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Monnick, and thank you for the service to citizens of Florissant. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on this prior to the final vote being taken? Ms. McKay. Again, Ms. McKay, for the record, your name and address.
Sharon McKay, 27 New Hope Court.
Thank you, ma'am.
The STEP program has never been alleviated. It has always been in place. It was changed, the amount of steps for the police officers. We have never eliminated the step as far as has something changed since I've been off of council? So the last comments that were made by the last gentleman are not true. There has always been a STEP program, but the change, no? All right, Mark, explain it to me, please. Since I haven't been on council, but the steps have been there.
But it was stopped.
Steps have never changed for the entire city employees?
Stopped.
It was stopped and then was reinstituted?
That's what we're doing tonight.
Did the council not vote in 2012 during the budget meetings to reinstitute the steps and to reinstitute the old pay plan, which did not happen? My understanding is I looked at the minutes from the council budget meetings from this council, and it was unanimous that this council voted that those steps be put back into play, and they were never instituted. That came from the mayor. Nobody got a raise, and that came from the administration, not from the council. So don't sit here and tell me that those steps were not put into play. I know they were put into play. You guys didn't vote for it. So if our officers did not receive the steps, and the council went ahead and voted for the 2012-2013 budget without the steps, it's your fault. Not the police officers, not the city employees, but it was the budget that was introduced by the mayor, and you accepted it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. McKay. Anyone else like to weigh in on this? Mr. O'Donnell. Please state your name and your address for the record, sir.
Yes, sir. My name's Kevin O'Donnell, 512 Rancho Lane, Ward 4. I appreciate letting me speak this evening. All due respect to the council and the mayor, I've been to the budget sessions. You know that I was there, well, most of you know that I was there at every budget session, and I was the only person, the only citizen there. And to sit there and to see that these raises weren't even brought up then, instead of waiting mid-year, you know, the 8th month in, I think it's wrong. I think this should have been addressed back in October last year. And as far as the pay raises go and everything, I understand. Nobody supports the police officers, to me, to myself, as much as I do. I appreciate them being here. I appreciate them being in our community. They've done a lot for me and my family. And the way I understand, years ago, when I first started getting involved in the city, I understood that we were one of the highest paid police departments hiring police officers. They were starting at a higher wage than most other communities. And I think they deserve it. They deserve a step raise, but also you have to look at the other employees too. You can't just say that everybody gets the same thing. Everybody gets this and we just give it to everybody. Because if you do that, then where's the part-time help go? Last year at the budget session, I heard that we were cutting the part-time people from 36 hours per week maximum down to 29 because we as the city didn't want to have to be responsible for their health care. And their raises haven't gone, their hourly wages haven't gone up, have they? I didn't hear anything about a wage increase during the budget session for the part-time employees. And when you cut somebody's hours by 7 hours a week and they make $9 an hour, please. Walmart pays better than this city. And everybody complains about Walmart. So what I would like to see is fairness all around. Fairness for the hourly, fairness for the part-time. I don't care if they're in the animal control, if they're in the parks division, if they're working part-time, they're working their butts off. I don't care if they're fogging the mosquitoes or whatever, that they should be making more this year than they did last year. And there's no step program for those part-time employees either. And so, I mean, let's address all the employees, not just the department heads or even just the regular hourly employees. How about doing something for the part-time employees? You cut their salaries down, and if we're to pay the department heads the same as our competitive communities like Chesterfield, then let's do it all the way around. Let's bring the Florissant City Council salaries closer to what the other communities are making as city council people. Do you know, as I recall last time, and I can't find the recent numbers, but we are the highest paid city in the St. Louis metropolitan area that you're making nearly $1,000 a month. $984 I figured. And that doesn't include your pension. You're a part-time employee. You get the benefits of a part-time pension. These part-time employees don't get that. You're making as much for 2 council meetings a month as these people work for making 116 hours a month. Is this fair? Is that what you would like? Would you like to be paid $9 an hour for your pay, get $36 a month? I think not. And I think that when you just look at salaries for the full-time employees, you need to look at all the employees. Look at everyone, part-time, full-time, and how much work they do. Let an outside representative come in, outside company, look at this and see what they think. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Officer Cole and Mr. Moynihan, I first of all thank you for your service to the City of Florissant. I'm sad to see that you've left, but I did want to clarify and address one point that you brought up. The ordinance number 7753, which was passed by the City Council unanimously, did not take away the step plan. I'm reading directly from the ordinance, and it says, whereas each employee will be eligible for a pay increase of an amount to be determined by the City Council for the years following 2011 upon successful completion of the duties on their date of hire or most recent promotion date. This was done partially because it allowed the flexibility to be able to give people more than just a 2% or a 3% increase that was fixed in a step. You should also know that a budget is presented to the City Council, and the City Council is one that determines how much that eligibility is going to be. In 2012 and 13 budget year, the City Council changed the recommendation of the mayor and gave every employee a 2% across the board and a 1% step. In the 2013-14 budget, the mayor recommended 0% increase. So again, the step plan has always been here with a top end and a bottom end. However, we agreed that you needed to be able to see it and see what your steps were going to be. Originally, when the study was done, the steps were 3% per year, 10% per grade and 3% per year. And I favored putting that back into place in 2012 budget year, and the council voted unanimously to do that. As a result of what's happening tonight, we are putting in the step plan again, which is great, and you're going to actually be able to see and look at the steps that you're eligible for each year. But it's only 2% a year instead of the 3% a year, or the possibility of whatever, which was effective back in 2010 when that ordinance passed. So I apologize if there was confusion about that, but there has always been a plan in place under this ordinance to be able to do that. And if you got to come forward, I'm sure you can address it. That's fine.
Mr. Monica, I'll recognize you again.
I'm not sure who Mr. Moynihan is. My name's Shane Monig, sir. I was a police officer. It's Monig, and I was a police officer for 2 years here. I was the lowest paid patrolman of the 100 or so officers. I was actually below starting pay, and I noticed it because police officers' salaries are public, and I noticed that I was below starting pay. And the step increases, sir, were taken away. You know, the play on words and what you just spoke goes over on some, sir. I received no raises when I was here. There was no step increase. Cost of living increases are something totally different. Step increases are, on my year anniversary is when I go up X amount. Every year up until I hit step 10. I was here just shy of 2 years. I was the lowest paid patrolman at your police department, yet one of the most, by training, trained. I chose to come here. Any questions, sir? Of me?
Good.
That's fine.
By ordinance, since 2010, the chief of police had the right to make a recommendation to bring an officer in, not at a step 1, bring him in at whatever step that he chose to recommend, subject to the approval of the mayor. I have no idea what your salary was when you were brought in and what year you came here. And I'm really not, you know, again, if you want to tell me the years that you served, when did you leave?
I left in 2012.
In 2012?
I did.
Okay, so you should have received a step increase, and I'm not sure why you didn't do that. I don't understand that, because there was a step increase given. So I'll be happy to look into that for you, or you could ask the chief. I don't know if he's still here, but
Chief Lowry wasn't the chief at the time. It was Chief
no, I understand, but you know, the plan is there, and I don't know why you didn't get a step increase. And again, when you hired in, and I appreciate your past service, the fact if they brought you in at a pay lower than you deserved, then that's, you know, that's a shame. The police have always had the ability to bring in a seasoned officer with experience and put him. They could have put him in the middle of the pay plan. They could have brought him in at the very top of the pay plan if they felt that was in the best interest of the city. So, you know, I don't know why they didn't do that. That's an administrative function. The council has nothing to do with that. The council passed the ordinance that said the police department can bring their people in at a step that they felt was appropriate. They didn't have to do, for example, a clerk brought in starts at a step 1. And we've recently changed that as well to say that they can have some discretion in bringing him in. But that's always been there. And again, I'll be happy to research for you, and I apologize if I pronounced
research
your name wrong,
isn't needed, Mr.
If you didn't
Lee.
get a step increase, I don't know why.
Again, I don't believe it's not me solely, as the police department as a whole. You know, it's step increases for patrol and so on and so forth above and beyond that. So it's not about me, it's about the police department and safety of the community, and this is a needed step towards that.
Well, and I guess I will ask the question that I posed earlier. You're a former police officer.
I'm still a current police officer.
Okay, you're still a current police officer. Sure. Do you feel this is sufficient for our police officers when we're going to be giving other people a 10% pay grade increase? Shouldn't the police officers be getting a larger increase?
The step increases, you know, I'm not in a position, I'm not a resident of Florissant. I believe financial situation, that's on you guys. Decisions you make on that. I'm here to speak on my position and my experience with the police department and what happened when I was here.
And what was your date of hire again, if you don't mind me asking?
July of 2010.
July of 10?
Yep.
And you left in what month in 12?
August of 12.
Thank you, Mr. Monick, for making your comments known. Mr. Henke?
Yes, many of you know I'm a excuse me, freshman. I'm a new member to the council here. I've been hearing a lot of would've, could've, should've, maybe. When does this take effect? I think it's our job to move this forward. I think it's a good plan for the employees, no matter when it's the budget time or not the budget time. I stated that a little earlier. I think when it comes to people that work for this city, we expect commitment out of them. I expect we need to be committed to them. Like I said, a lot of this stuff happened before I was a council member here, but I see this as an opportunity to move forward. Let's do this for our employees. I think the time is now to move this forward. Mr. President, can I call for the question? Would it be proper?
There's a motion on the floor to call for the question, and that is seconded by Mr. Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Clerk, please poll the council. For the final vote, please poll the council.
Hernandez? Lee?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes. Ordinance number 9009 passes and becomes, or correction, Bill 9009 passes and become ordinance 8059. 8059. Thank you very much. Substitute ordinance 9010. I will make a motion to enter substitute ordinance 9010 onto the agenda, and that is seconded by Ms. Pagano. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Yes, Mr. Lee.
Just for the record, the ordinance that was posted online that we have says this ordinance is introduced by a council as a whole, and I don't believe it was introduced by council as a whole, so that may want to be amended for the record. That's all I have.
Under 9010, I have second reading Egan.
Pardon?
The ordinance itself says council.
Look at the substitute bill, Mr. Egan.
Okay, very good. Well, for the record, you'll make note that it was introduced by Councilman from Ward number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I will make a motion to read that ordinance for the second time, and that motion be seconded by Mr. Shildroth. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Clerk? Discussion? Any discussion?
Ordinance authorizing appropriations in the sum of $90,930 from General Revenue Fund to various accounts to provide funding for a new pay plan. That was a...
Mr. Schmidt makes a motion for a third reading on this bill, seconded by Mr. Hinkie. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Clerk?
Ordinance authorizing an appropriation in the sum of $90,930 from the General Revenue Fund to various accounts providing funding for the new pay plan.
Prior to a final vote being taken on this topic, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this bill? Come forward, sir. And sir, if you'd be so kind as to state your name and your address for the record, I'd be appreciative.
St. Louis Street. You say you have a commitment to the employees. What about the citizens that voted you into your seat?
I think this is in the best interest of the citizens.
Of the citizens?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think that and I'm not going to get into a dialogue here, that's okay, but I think that what is good for the employees is good for the city. We have good employees. We want to retain good employees. We want to have a good police force. We have good public works, good street departments. I think to preserve that is good for the citizens of my ward. That's what I think I'm doing. If I vote, I think represented the people of my ward, or I wouldn't have voted that way.
Sir, if you have a statement, will you please make it?
I'm just this is my first time being here. Some of you I've seen before, some of you I haven't. Some of you I know through family members. It's incredibly disappointing for me as a citizen, as a taxpayer. I'm struggling every single day. I know tons of people, my friends, my family, my community, we're all struggling. I love my police department. They're the ones that show up when the guns start going off. They're the ones that show up when the baby's dead in the back room. They are there for all the nasty things that we don't want to deal with. They're also the ones that get shot and then move down to other states because we don't have a plan in place to take care of them. I know of an officer, I believe it was Vernon, recently shot from a kid jumping out of a trash can. Where's he at today? He's not working with the city. He's not here. There's nothing to back him up. But at the same time, we're talking 17% pay increases for department heads and other things going on?
No, sir. No, sir.
Wait. That was finally dropped since everybody showed, since everybody was aware of what was going on. Maybe I'm saying things wrong, but I hope to see things differently from here on out, and I will be here. And I will talk to my friends, my family, my community, because there's so many better appropriations we could be doing with our funds. There are so many other ways we could go about taking from one department that maybe has a surplus and giving to another, but to raise taxes on, where's this money coming from for this $90,000? I already pay my tax rate here in Florissant. It's way higher than, I've looked at moving. I can't afford to, but I've looked at moving, and it's cheaper taxes with better school districts in the area. I pay through the nose here, and I expect more. I expect if we have things in place from 2012, we go back and we review that before we just remove ordinances that allow us to then vote on something like this. I look up to my city members, but right now, I expect more, and I think the people here do too. I understand your job's not easy, and I don't want it. But at least think about the people that voted you in and the effect this will have, knowing that, yeah, I voted him in, but he went ahead and voted yes anyways just because. If you don't feel that a bill is right, you vote no. You vote no. You don't just pass it to go along with everybody else. I'm looking for somebody to stand up and be strong and say, maybe we should go back and look at the things in the past. But I'm not seeing anybody saying that. It's just push forward, push forward, push forward. I want everybody to get raises. I want my neighbor that lives across the street to get that pay raise so that he can afford to show up to the baseball games with his kid instead of having to work extra hours. But this isn't the way to do it. And I think that's what everybody here is saying. It's not that we're upset with you personally. It's just you're ignoring other things that are going on and pushing forward with this plan to suddenly bring $90,000 out of all of our paychecks. Not $90,000, but in total. That's coming from me, that's coming from him, her, everybody in here. And we don't like this. I appreciate your time. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you for your comments. Clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Hernandez. Lee. Yes. Jones.
Yes.
Egan.
Yes.
Caputa.
Yes.
Shildroth.
Yes.
Hanky.
Yes.
Pagano. Schmidt.
Substitute Bill 9010 becomes Ordinance 8060. Substitute Bill 9011, I will offer the substitute Bill 9011, and that has been seconded by Ms. Pagano. All in favor to accept that bill? Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Mr. Lee.
Yeah, please, for the record, again, I'd like to note that the substitute bill that we have before us also says it was introduced by council as a whole, so if the record could be amended to reflect the proper introduction, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Ms. Goodwin, if you'll make a record that the bill was offered by the council representatives from ward number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, I'd be appreciative.
Will do.
I will also offer the motion that we read Substitute Bill 9011 for a second time, and that has been seconded by Mr. Schmidt. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Clerk, please read the bill.
Ordinance authorizing appropriations in the sum of $5,100 from Park Improvement Fund to various accounts to provide funding for the new pay plan.
Mr. Caputo makes a motion to have Substitute Bill 9011 read for a third time, and that is seconded by Mr. Jones. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance authorizing appropriation of the sum of $5,100 from the Park Improvement Fund to various accounts to provide funding for the new pay plan.
Prior to the final vote being taken, is there anyone in the audience or on the dais that would like to make any comments regarding this bill? Seeing none, clerk, please poll the council.
Hernandez. Lee. Jones. Egan.
Yes?
Caputa. Shildroth. Hanky. Pagano. Schmidt.
Substitute Bill 9011 passes and becomes Ordinance 8061. 8061. Next item on the agenda is new business. Board appointments. Mr. Caputa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I would like to reappoint Patricia Young at 525 Malamphy, Ward 4, for the minimum building standards of appeal.
Mr. Shildroth makes that motion, seconded by Mr. Hernandez. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is request out of Ward number 5, a request for a permit to allow Mike Forrest Sr. to have 4 chickens located at 375 North Costello. The Health Department does recommend this. Mr. Shildroth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I went by and visited with Mr. Forrest today. He has a nice big lot on the corner of North Costello and Washington, and I see no problem with him putting in this pen for the chickens. Thank you.
Mr. Hernandez makes that motion, seconded by Ms. Pagano. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The request carries. Request from Ward number 6, a request for a permit to allow Kristen Bourne to have 4 ducks located at 1150 Clark Street. Is also recommended by the Health Department. Mr. Hanky?
Yeah, actually, I know this area very well. It was part of my mail route before I retired back there. It's a great place for ducks, okay?
Mr. Lee makes a motion to allow ducks at 1150 St. Clark. That is seconded by Mr. Shildroth. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? The request carries. Bills for first reading. 9013.
Ordinance authorizing a special use permit to Total Tan Incorporated DBA Club Fitness to allow for the operation of a fitness center for the property located at 745 North Highway 67.
9015.
Ordinance authorizing an appropriation of a total of $60,000 from Park Improvement Fund, $15,000 to account number 095047, Professional Services, and $45,000 to account number 096147, Capital Additions for the Nature Lodge erosion repairs.
Mr. Lee moves for a second reading. Is that seconded by anyone? Mr. Hinkie will second the second reading. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Discussion? Clerk, please read the bill.
Ordinance authorizing an appropriation of a total of $60,000 from Park Improvement Fund, of $15,000 to account number 095047, Professional Services, and $45,000 to account number 096147, Capital Additions for Nature Lodge erosion repairs.
Mr. Lee moves for a third, seconded by Mr. Shildroth. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Hernandez? Lee? Jones? Egan?
Yes.
Caputa? Shildroth? Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano? Schmidt?
Clerk, please read the bill. Hold on, please. Mr. Lee?
Yeah, I just wanted, for the people that are wondering what this is all about, you may be aware that there was a catastrophic failure on the lower trail at Sunset Park, the Great Rivers Greenway Trail. And after a lot of discussion and a lot of looking and engineering work, Great Rivers Greenway has agreed to come in and fund over $300,000 to make the repairs to that trail, but they stipulated that they wished the city of Florissant to make some modifications to the runoff and the drainage, commit to do that part so there's not a future failure. Several of us have been out there and looked at it, and it's been discussed, and The council is appropriating the funds right now so that we'll be able to keep up our end of the bargain. And I think Mr. Jones had asked possibly then would be able to get in and use the same contractor that they'll be using and perhaps save the residents some money. So that's why I'm asked for 3 readings tonight. Thank you.
Clerk, please read the bill for a third time.
Ordinance authorizing appropriation of a total of $60,000 from the Park Improvement Fund, $15,000 to account number 095047, professional services, and $45,000 to account number 096147, capital additions for the Nature Lodge erosion repairs.
Prior to the final vote being taken, is there anyone in the audience or on the dais that would like to comment on this bill? Please state your name and your address for the record, sir.
My name's Kevin O'Donnell, 512 Rancho Lane. I have no problem with the $60,000, but I'd just like to know the question that's always asked by me and others: what are these professional services? What is this $15,000 for professional services? Is it for clerical
Engineering,
work?
Mr. O'Donnell.
Pardon me?
Engineering.
Engineering? Okay. And we know exactly how much it's going to cost for this engineering?
We've appropriated what we believe it's going to cost.
Okay, so we don't have bids for the engineering. That's just a given?
Estimate from the city engineer.
That would be an estimate. And again, I'm not going to debate with you up here, Mr. O'Donnell. If you'll see me afterwards, I'd gladly speak to you. But that is an estimate from Mr. Barrett, who is our city engineer.
Okay, well, actually, you're cutting in my Gettmeyer times, so I'm just going to have to... Hey, I got burgers waiting for me. But that's all. I was just curious what the professional services were.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Is there anyone else that would like to comment before we take the final vote? Seeing none, clerk, please be kind enough to poll the council.
Hernandez. Lee. Jones.
Yes.
Egan.
Yes.
Caputa. Yes. Shildroth.
Yes.
Hanky.
Yes.
Pagano. Schmidt.
Bill number 9015 passes and becomes ordinance 8062. Council announcements. Mr. Lee.
First of all, I'd like to announce that the Greater North County Chamber of Commerce, along with the League of Women Voters, will be sponsoring a candidate forum at the St. Louis Community College at Florissant Valley this Thursday evening at 7 p.m. All the candidates for St. Louis County Executive have been invited to this forum, and so if you're interested in that race, I encourage you to attend. I also want to take the opportunity to just say that we saw government in action here tonight, and I appreciate the fact that my fellow council members, we could sit up here in good decorum and have a spirited debate and a discussion and agree to disagree on some issues, and we're going to continue to move forward as a city, and I hope we can continue to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Caputa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I'd like to say a little word about with this weather. I know this week is supposed to be a little bit cooler, but being hot and being in the middle of the summer, I like to make sure our citizens be aware of this heat. Make sure you drink plenty of fluids, because this heat can come up and get you quick, especially for our elderly. Elderly citizens are very susceptible to the heat, so make sure that we're well hydrated. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hanky.
Yes, thank you. Tonight was a little education for me, too, as more of a freshman council member here. But something I want to put out, and I think we did have a good civil discourse, what we need to do to talk to each other, how we do business. I think a strong point that needs to be made here, though, while we may disagree, as a council member, my constituents are coming up and talking to me, and I may disagree. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong and you're right, or doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong. It means that we have an opinion. And I think everybody up here at this council, I saw the passion in it tonight with everybody here. I think all these council people are acting what they consider to be the best interest for the people in their ward, and that's what moves this city forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanky. Mr. Shildroth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to thank everyone on the dais that spoke tonight about the bills that we worked on tonight, and I echo what Mr. Lee said. I would like to thank Parks Department, especially Mr. Bob Laramie and his staff for their quick and efficient cleanup of a downed tree this afternoon on St. Brendan Street. It was blocking the access to get out on the St. Anthony, and they were out in about 15 minutes to clear the street, and I want to thank them for that. I'd also like to thank the staff at the Florissant Golf Club for the condition of the course at the recent Friends of Betty Schildroth Golf Tournament, which was yesterday. We had a sellout of 120 players. Many comments on the course and the great shape it's in. I'd like to thank all the businesses for supporting this tournament, Florissant businesses especially, to help make this a success. And I'd also like to give a special shout out to a local caterer in Florissant who did our food, and it was fantastic. It was catering to you, and we've already booked a date for next year. Next year will be our 22nd year. We've raised over $150,000 for the hospice unit at St. John's Mercy. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I'd like to say thanks to all the city employees. We are trying to make things better for you. We are trying to push in the right direction. I am new on this board also. I've learned something new every day from the residents here tonight, to the residents I see in the street. I also like to comment on the other hand. MSD has finally met with me. We took a ride in my car to several creeks. I'm still waiting for some answers. They said I'd be getting them by email or in the mail or both. But hopefully
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Yeah, I misspoke on the date of the candidate forum. It's actually this Wednesday night. So since this isn't going out live, we're okay, I guess. But it's going to be Wednesday night, not Thursday night of this week at St. Louis Community College. Thank you.
And thank you for that correction. And finally, for me, I would like to thank all those who worked on the pay plan. It was a very long, arduous process. Getting 9 council members to concur on anything is much like trying to decide whether you should start the runners with 2 outs and the number 8 hitter up. It was a very difficult chore, and the learning process for all, and I appreciate everyone's input on that. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank you, Mr. President, and Vice President Pagano for your leadership, especially of late. It's very appreciated in helping the administration advance the progress of this city. Just wanted to also acknowledge and thank the St. Louis County Executive and County Council for their resolution congratulating the city of Florissant on their 75th anniversary of the renaming of the city to a place called Florissant, the original French name for the valley. And speaking of the French, today, July 14th, is the 225th anniversary of the French Revolution. The Marquis de Lafayette, who was the aide-de-camp to George Washington, presented George Washington with a key to the Bastille. This is a replica of one that I purchased when I was at Mount Vernon one time. It's also the 60th anniversary of the hottest day ever in the state of Missouri. I have a photograph of that day right here, if you guys want to see that. It's a bunch of shirtless children. Lou Gerals reminds us that, our Public Works Director reminds us that it's time, if you haven't noticed it already, it's time to check for standing water. Make sure you don't have any standing water that's going to breed mosquitoes. Check your gutters, your garden, any place in your yard that might breed mosquitoes. It's very important this time of year to try to eliminate those breeding places. And cut your grass. We had a lot of fun things in Florissant. We had our first Saturday night concert last week, and our second one is this coming Saturday, Ground Flow Fusion, and they'll be every Saturday through August 16th, and then the last one will be August 24th with Boeing Concert Band. But they're all Saturday nights except for the last one, so from now until August 16th, they're Saturday night, And the next Wednesday night out is July 30th at the Shrine. That'll be at the concert. I said it was Ice Age, but the movie is Frozen. It's Frozen, similar, but it's Frozen, and it's also going to be an ice cream social, and hopefully that'll be Frozen also. And then we're going to have another movie at Coke Park. It's going to be a dive-in movie on July 25th at 8:30 p.m. So you can soak and watch the film. It's going to be, let's see, what film is that going to be? I think that's going to be Frozen also.
Hope the water's not.
Then another movie, Camping and a Movie at Sunset Nature Lodge, August 1st. So I'm not sure what that movie is, but it's probably Frozen. And anyway, that should be a lot of fun. So if you're interested in camping overnight at the Nature Lodge and taking in a movie on August 1st, that's what we're going to be doing. Contact our Parks Department and check it out. Always looking for new ways to have fun in Florissant. We're going to have dog days, August 15th and 16th. Don't bring your cats, but you can bring your dogs to swim at Coke Aquatic Center, and even if you don't have a dog, come and watch that. That is a fun thing to watch. They really enjoy it. As we did last year, Johnny Londoff, who is a big supporter of education, they just recently had a scholarship that they gave to local high school students. Mr. Londoff again has joined me in endorsing the Ferguson-Florissant School District Proposition S. This time the Ferguson-Florissant School District is asking for 50 cents rather than 75 cents. And I can tell you that the school districts is going to have a big part in the progress of our community, the community of Ferguson, and the community of Cool Valley and Berkeley. It's very important for us to support the school districts if we want to have progress in our community. Then lastly, I'd like to invite everybody to use our facilities, our swimming pools, our golf course, take advantage of all the different things that we have that are fun to do in Florissant. The Florissant citizens are happiest when they're together having fun. So enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you, Your Honor. I saw the mayor today at Walgreens at the Red Box renting Frozen. Mr. Schmidt motions to go into adjournment, and that is seconded by Mr. Hernandez. The next council meeting will be July 28th, 2014. All in favor of adjournment? Aye. Opposed? The council's in adjournment.